One of the awful words in this English language is the word process. You ever heard the word process? A peace process means what? It goes on forever. When it says put to death these things in you, does that mean a slow, torturous death? Doesn't mean, no. It means shoot it in the head. Put it to death. Here it says, get rid of all bitterness. It doesn't say in a process. Get rid of it. Well, we say, well, I don't know how to get rid of it. Well, that may be true, but don't change the meaning of the word because you don't know how. Let's look over at James, the 3rd chapter. Most of the 3rd chapter is talking about the mouth, I think. In verse 14 of chapter 3 of James. But if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast about it or deny the truth. Such wisdom, quote, unquote, does not come down from heaven. Got that? This bitter envy and selfish ambition didn't come from heaven. It's earthly, unspiritual, of the devil. Now, can you get any more clear than that? Bitterness is unspiritual, earthly, of the devil. It didn't come from heaven. For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder and every evil practice. But the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure. Oh, you want to know what comes from heaven? Purity. That's the wisdom that comes from heaven. Then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial, sincere. Okay? The wisdom that comes from heaven is pure. This bitter envy and selfish ambition does not come down from heaven. It's from the world, from the devil. Okay, another verse of scripture in Hebrews chapter 12. My first point is help us to realize how exceeding sinful bitterness is. It can't be qualified with anything close to pure. It didn't come from heaven. It's associated with rage and anger and malice. Hebrews 12. Verse 15. See to it that no one misses the grace of God, and that no bitter root grows up to cause trouble and defile many. First is descriptive, somehow missing the grace of God. Then it defines or describes bitterness as a root. A root is by definition underground. You normally don't see it. And it has a certain character to it, and it has a certain function. It feeds, it drinks, and eventually it comes to surface. When it comes to surface, it's no longer a root. It's now a fruit bearer. So if you have an apple root and it comes to surface, it bears apples. If you have a wheat root, comes to surface, it bears wheat. If you have a bitter root and comes to surface, it bears bitter fruit. And he says here, it's a failure, it misses the grace of God. It also says, don't let it come to the surface. I know people who really work at their bitterness not coming to the surface. They don't succeed, but they really work at it. They try to keep it buried inside. I said it doesn't work, but they're not as expressive as they would be if they didn't try. But what happens to them physically if they keep it buried? What does this bitterness do to your body? Makes you sick. All kinds of things. Ulcers, arthritis, colitis, name it. Bitterness is kept in. You say, boy, I don't want to get sick. I won't keep it in. I'll let it out and get everybody else sick. Now, he says that's what happens here. See to it that no one misses the grace of God, and that no bitter root grows up to cause trouble and defile many. Defile means to make filthy, to make dirty many other people, just because you let this bitter root comes up. You can keep it in and get sick, or you can let it out and get everybody else sick. Well, if you tie this in with Ephesians 4, it says get rid of it. You get rid of the root. You don't just suppress it, and you don't just express it. You get rid of the root. Before we can get rid of the root, it's hard to recognize. You say, well, if I thought I was bitter, oh, it's wonderful. I don't know how many people have told me that they got this book because they knew some bitter person to give it to. And then they thought, well, maybe I better read it first, and found out they were bitter. People don't recognize their own bitterness.